Okay. Hi, Pamela. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Douglas?
Doing great. Thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to have you on our show.
I'm excited about being here.
So, you got a book that we're going to be talking about called The Art of Forgiveness. And it looks like you've done lots and lots of things with your life. Let's just go over those first, and then we'll hit on the book, and you can explain what your book is about. First off, I see Executive Director at the Wellness Network, which is looks like a charity, right? 501c3?
It's the nonprofit that I started to help bring mindfulness and yoga to children and families in our underserved communities. And I started practicing yoga probably in 2006. And everywhere I went, I didn't see very many people who looked like me. However, yoga started in with the Dravidians, which were people of color. And so I started at the Wellness Network to bring those programs as well as, and the program that I started is called Yoga is for Me Too, because it's about mindfulness. And when statistics show that poverty and stress is decreasing children's IQ by up to 15 points, I knew that this would be the tool that I could use to do whatever I can do in my little corner of the world and hopefully help to spread that and encourage other yoga instructors and mindfulness coaches and breathologists to do this work in the community where children don't get access, nor is it on the agenda of their families for them to participate in classes like this, as well as looking at the health and wellness aspect of what is happening in the African American community. And the disparities clearly showed up during this COVID crisis that we've been in, that because of the comorbidities among African Americans, that African Americans were dying at a higher rate. Well, I started this nonprofit in 2017 because in my own family, I've lost 4 of my 13 siblings, well, 12 siblings, it's 13 of us children. 4 of them, and all of them are gone, Douglas, because of food-related illnesses. And the goal is to start helping us to understand that just in such a short amount of time, that African American, how did the people who helped to build this country by working in the fields and doing very laborious tasks in this country, how did all of a sudden we become the sickest people in the United States? So we have to get back to what we were doing before to help take our health picture into our own hands. And that's what At the Wellness Network is about.
Why do you think that African Americans in this country are the sickest people? Is it simply the lack of quality medical, or is it diet, or all of the above? What do you think it is?
Well, remember, Douglas, a long time ago, there wasn't any medical. So if we were healthy without medical, then something has taken place. I think that just the stress alone of being a person of color in the United States is taking its toll on the body. Then the lack of opportunities, whether it is in employment, whether it's moving up in the employment that you're already in. And then also looking at our neighborhoods, they've been now classified as food deserts. You can find fast food places, but you don't find fresh fruits and vegetables as you would in some other communities. And then even as African Americans have been, we've moved away from the farms and we were healthy then. Just being outside, while it wasn't a good idea to have to work every day for free and your children to be sold from you. But in reality, we were healthier physically than we are today. I mean, think about it. When you look at the obesity rate in the United States of America, and particularly, but across the board, but in particularly in the African American community, these same people that had to step up on a box to be sold, the only way they could get up on a box now is somebody would have to help them because they don't have the ability, the motion in their thighs, the strength to climb up on a 2-foot box to even be sold. We have a major problem in our community, and we have to start the work of looking at our own plates and saying, what do I need to do so that I can be healthier?
How is the Wellness Network doing? How many people have you got coming in and doing yoga classes?
Prior to COVID, I took the classes to the community. whether it was at the Boys and Girls Club or in public housing, senior citizen centers, senior citizens places that where people lived in public housing, those senior citizens building, or community and church centers. I took it to them as opposed to them coming to me, because that's also a challenge many times, is who has the money or the time. But if I bring it to you and all you have to do is come to a place that is in close proximity to where you live, and just understanding what it is. We think about yoga and we immediately think about the very thin person on the cover of the magazine when you are in line at the grocery store. But yoga is about the marriage between the mind, the body, and the breath. And we breathe every day. So these inhales and exhales are very important. And very few people are being taught about the significance of their breath and then how you use it. And that's part of what happens in yoga. It's not about whether or not you can get your leg up over your head. That's not what yoga is really about. It's about the totality of the human experience, the mind, the body, and the breath.
Was it an enthusiastic reception when you brought this to people? Did they take up on it, or were they skeptical about it?
Well, there are people now, of across the line, across the board, who can be skeptical because of language. And people feel like because yoga was a practice that was practiced in Eastern cultures, that maybe it is in opposition to Christianity. And I wanted to find out about that. So I Googled meditation and the Bible. And I saw the scripture, the scriptures in verse 119, Psalms 119. And it is about meditating. But Christianity doesn't talk to us about spirituality. And I think that's where we've lost out. That whole Psalms 119 is about that relationship with the Creator and not being ashamed of my hope and meditating on your word and your precepts. We're not doing any of that. We're so in the materialistic aspect of this journey that we're not being taught about the spirituality, which is a shame and very uncomfortable for me when the scripture says we must serve the Creator in spirit and in truth, and then try the spirit by the spirit. If whatever you're doing doesn't align itself with the Creator said, let us create man in our own image and likeness. We focus so much on the likeness that we don't talk very much about we focus on the image and we don't talk about the likeness. The likeness is the spirituality of this journey. So I've had to help people understand, don't get caught up on language, because a chair is still a chair regardless of whether you say it in French, Spanish, or whatever the language is. It is still a method to hold you up. It's still a chair. So the breath and mindfulness and spirituality is still the key to being at a place of peace along this journey, even in the midst of the chaos that we were told in the scriptures that we live in a fallen world. But we must have those tools to be able to find the peace in the midst of chaos. And that's what's missing today in Christianity. We're all about the building and the materialistic things, but we pay so little attention to the breath and spirituality. The scripture says that the Creator is closer to us than the breath that we breathe. We inhale and exhale every day, and few people think very little about it. Because when we come here, we do an inhale. And when we leave here, we have one last exhale. But the fact that when you exhale and you're able to inhale again, that's the miracle. But we don't think about it, we take it for granted. Thus, we don't use our breath in a way that's healing for us and healing for others.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I have to ponder on that one for a little while. We've got just a few minutes left, so I want to make sure we get your book in here. Your book is called The Art of Forgiveness. Can you give us a quick synopsis of what the book is about?
Yeah, I think forgiveness is the final exam of this journey. It is the most critical thing that we can do. The first scripture in the book is, "Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them." When we get to the place and understand that there's only a set number of emotions that we can have. And who better to make us feel those emotions than people that we know? So it's part my journey of being able to forgive and release, and the journey of others, but to look at it from a spirituality perspective. I didn't come here to please you, Douglas, nor did you come here to please me. Yet we live our lives in that way, and that's why we get hurt, because we have expectations of others. Others have expectations of us, and when we don't live up to those expectations of people who didn't even create themselves. So we are taking on too much responsibility for what other people do. Then we don't understand how to forgive our own selves. And I will tell you that if you find somebody that can't forgive, I guarantee you they haven't understood the forgiveness that they are entitled to. Because the scripture says that the Creator forgives us as far as the east is from the west. And when you understand your own forgiveness, then you are on the path to understanding how to let go. It's not your responsibility nor your assignment to change other people. Things that you have done that you need to forgive yourself for, it's in the past. And I use all of the tools that God has blessed me with, whether it's the mindfulness of yoga. At the end of each chapter, there's a yoga posture for forgiveness. There's a meditation for forgiveness. There are poems that I've written because I believe, I didn't even know I could write poems. I didn't even know I could write a book, to be quite honest. And the way that it came about was through the story of my sister who had polio and was a quadriplegic for 2 years. She lost the use of her legs and her arms, but she later gained use through fasting and praying. I grew up Pentecostal. Never went to the doctor. My sister did not. She's 13 years older than I, but so I wasn't even around then. But understanding, she became an artist in her 50s. And her story of, I had to forgive Ma and I had to forgive God for me having polio. So to know that unforgiveness is the kink in us being able to live what the Creator intended for us to do before the foundation of the world. There was a plan in place for you. And when you carry the negative energy of unforgiveness, which also resides in the liver, which causes toxins to be in the body can't filter itself because it's filtering through the liver. So if your liver is toxic, the body can't filter itself. And research has shown that up to 61% of people who have cancer have issues with forgiving. They have issues that they have not forgiven. There's been research that's been done to show that people who will forgive, their body starts to heal. This is a very energetic system that we have. And so I have the poems, I have meditation exercises, and drawing, Zen doodling, anything that you can do when your mind starts to go back to replay things over and over again. Because Douglas, if it happened in the past, the only way that it's alive is in your mind, because it's over.
Yeah.
But you don't know, your cells don't know that it's over. Because the minute you go back into that trauma, it still affects your cells. So we are causing damage to our own bodies by ruminating, which is a medical condition that is the base for many of the mental illnesses that I believe could be corrected, certainly improved upon when people correct the plate, stay away from foods that cause inflammation in the body because it also causes inflammation in the brain. Stay away from those thoughts that drag you back to the pain of something that you can't do anything about. And we have to be able to understand that it is the desire of the Creator for our hearts to be as light as a feather. And the only way it can be light as a feather is that we release and forgive. And my stories, I was trying to get pregnant and my husband's secretary got pregnant by him. And so there are many other stories in the book. I give the examples so that people can understand that there is a process to understanding I was made for God's good pleasure, not yours. And so let me develop a relationship, an intimate relationship with the Creator, because that's what the Creator wants for us. Love me with your whole heart. And as we love the Creator with our whole heart, we're going to do good to others. And then when others don't do well, then we have that love in us that we can love them, because there's a scripture that says, Douglas, do good to those who despitefully use you. How about that?
That is amazing. We do have to wind this down. Unfortunately, we are out of time. You said before the interview that this book is not out yet. When do you expect it'll be released?
Certainly by the end of the year. We are in the final phases of the production of it with a publishing company, and it will be on all of the platforms and online and on my website, PamelaDMarshall.com. Viewers can pre-order now, and on the website it's a lower price than it's going to be when it hits the market. Plus, I'll have an opportunity to autograph the book for you. So if you go to PamelaDMarshall.com and pre-order so that you can get your autographed copy and surprise gifts that will be in the book for you.
Oh, super. Well, Pamela, thanks so much for coming on, and great message. I appreciate that. Best of luck with the book launch. I hope everything goes well.
Thank you, Douglas. It's been a pleasure being with you.